Certainly there's new technologies that are emerging all the time. New technologies are being developed, new languages are being developed and created, and that sounds awesome that I can explore. And if I was working under Mahesh, I could be like, hey man, I figured something out. I'm going to make up something. I found Gecko. Gecko is the newest language. I wrote everything in Gecko. It crushes. And you confirm that it's great. But someone else might bring another language that's also great. How do you choose to bring it together? What are some of your criteria for saying like, hey, this is how we bring it together?
This is where some of the company values come into play. We want people to be, as our company values, we want people to be ambitious. We also want people to deliver results. So we also want people to foster belonging. The rule of thumb, at least in my world, is if you can convince your team that this is a good idea, then you can go ahead and execute on it. But if you can't convince even a single person that this is the good idea, then it doesn't matter what I say. The way I think about decision making at my level is I tend to make fewer decisions, but more high quality decisions. I kind of defer the day-to-day decision making to the teams, which is why like nobody can use me as hey, the CTO told me it's okay, right? Do your colleagues think it's a good idea? And if they say yeah, then sure, you don't have to ask me. I do like have some broad guidelines. For example, you have to be on AWS. Like that's my thing. You have to be there because adopting a new platform is going to be expensive or potentially expensive, and uptime of 3 nines at the minimum. So you have to make sure 99.9% of the time the app is up. And if you can guarantee some of these things and good user experience, your page doesn't take like seconds to load, loads in like under millisecond, stuff like that, then it's fine. You can just use whatever you want.
How do you decide on your features to expand upon? It's easy to say, I want to listen to my customers, but the reality is when you get to a certain scale, which you're at now, customers say different things. So they all want something else, right? You have to make bets in arenas. How do you choose how to build this product? Because you hit the nail on the head, which is your whole goal is to be, we're an all-in-one. It's got to unify and be together. And in the future, you can't predict the future, but there's probably going to be new methods that people prefer learning. And it's going to be something that you're going to have to build in Kajabi. So how do you choose to make these features and investments? I don't know if there's clearly in data a winner. There's not always a winner. When people say like, oh, I'm data driven, it's like, well, you're always telling me that data will give a definitive choice. But what if it doesn't? How do you make decisions then?
I'll give credit to the product teams because they are a close partner in this. The state of the company where Kajabi is right now, we can't not grow step function changes every year. Right? So we can't be, it's like 5% growth every year. The market's going to punish us if that's our thinking. So for the last 10 years or so, the company has been like growing steadily, but not double-digit growth. So since the pandemic, it has become like double-digit growth. So our view is always, how do you grow this business in a step function manner? So that means you make a combination of big bets that can move the needle dramatically, and then you make a bunch of medium-sized bets or like sure wins, right? And that is almost always a customer feedback. So we take all the customer feedback, and we also do like jobs to be done interviews. The UX research team does a lot of like interviews like that. So customers might say, I want X. Jobs to be done indicates they want X, but they actually are trying to solve for Y. And we digest all that and we come up with a set of features. And then the big bets are always going to be things that change the trajectory of the business dramatically. We typically tend to do both.
Give us an idea of how you make these decisions. You kind of mentioned the smaller bets. How do you choose what to invest in on the big ones? Because that's pretty cool.
Again, this is my personal opinion. So if you look at things that can change the trajectory of a company dramatically in a short window of time, which is like say 2 years, it's only a few things that can do it. Pricing and packaging. You change the way you package and sell or price it. That's number one. Number two, you do a brand new product line. Like you have Amazon sells e-commerce stuff. Boom, I'm going to do AWS. It's a new product line, new business. You scale like that. Or three, you go international. You go to a new geo, sort of connected to the pricing and packaging. You price it differently. Let's say you go to India, for example. We have a lot of customers there. We can price it differently, and then we can grow there. Or M&As. You acquire companies that change your footprint in the market. You have a strategic advantage because you have this company now. So all the delighters after that will not make step function changes, right? They'll like incrementally add value over time. So we categorize the big bets into these buckets. We as in the senior exec team. So we look at it like every year and say, okay, in these categories of things, where do we all think that's like the most interest? And then we decide, okay, pricing and packaging, maybe we'll introduce a new plan, maybe a new higher end plan, maybe a new lower end plan, or maybe we change the way we charge for add-ons, right? Like stuff like that. We decide at the exec level. Again, We'll validate it with customers. We'll like validate it through the internal leadership team. But the big bets are almost always decided upon by the exec team and like validated through like research and so on and so forth.
Did you know Salesforce is one of the founding members of the World Economic Forum's Cybersecurity Learning Hub? The Learning Hub democratizes access to cybersecurity skills by providing free and career-oriented modules that give people a route towards in-demand roles. Visit Trailhead in the show notes to skill up for the future and learn in-demand skills that lead to top jobs.